Open die forging. Let us see an example for open die forging. A simple open die forging machine consists of cylinder, steam tubes, column, piston rod, motion control lever, anvil foundation, ram, top die, workpiece, bottom die and anvil. In open die forging, the deformation of hot billet takes place in between two flat open dies. Hence, this forging is called as open die forging. Closed die forging. Let us see an example for closed die forging. A simple closed die forging machine consists of column, ram, top die, cavity, bottom die and control rod. Hot billet. By heavy impact force, the billet deforms in the closed die. Hence, this forging is called as closed die forging. Press forging. Let us see a 3D model of a press forging machine. A simple press forging machine consists of flywheel, handle, stopper, ram, frame, screw, base and guide. Press forging deforms a hot metal slowly and uniformly to desired shape. This press forging machine is operated manually or by power drive.
Forging is the controlled deformation of metal into specific shapes by the use of compressive forces. These forces are applied through tools and dies, driven mainly by hammers, which deform the workpiece by high-velocity impact, or presses, which deform the workpiece through controlled high pressures. Forging is one of the oldest metalworking processes, dating as far back as 8000 BC. It is utilized today to reduce the cross-section, improve the metallurgical microstructure, provide directional grain flow, and eliminate porosity of cast ingot in fabricating wrought mill forms, and to form discrete parts to near net shape from these wrought mill forms, further refining microstructure and directional grain flow. Because of these effects on microstructure and grain flow, the mechanical performance of wrought mill forms and parts is typically superior to that of cast metals. Open die forging is performed on ingot, billet, bar, or a preform, and is the deformation of a workpiece between flat or shaped dies without completely restricting metal flow. This deformation can result in lengthening of the workpiece while reducing its cross-section, upsetting regions along the length to greater sizes than adjacent regions, or bulging the workpiece's cross-section while reducing its length. Lengthening and upsetting are typically done using multiple impacts, as the workpiece is incrementally advanced lengthwise and rotated about its longitudinal axis. There is essentially no limit to the size of forgings that can be made using open die forging. They can range from a few centimeters to 30 meters in length and weigh from a few to up to several 100,000 kilograms. Although fairly complex shapes can be made using open die forging, most are rather simple solids or hollows requiring considerable machining to achieve final shape. Forgings are produced using simple flat, V-shaped, or semi-round dies. Various accessory tools are also used, including saddles, blocks, rings, mandrels, and punches. To withstand forging temperatures, abrasion, and impact, dies and accessory tools are usually made of hot work tool steels or medium carbon alloy steels. Impression die forging, also called closed die forging, is the deformation of metal at forging temperature within one or more die impressions or cavities. It is performed both in presses and hammers. Workpieces may be round or rectangular in cross-section or flat discs, and the dies are sometimes integrally heated to minimize chilling and cooling of the workpiece. For simple shapes, impression die forging can be performed in a single press stroke. More often, however, several strokes of different force are used with dies having several impressions for sequential preforming and finish forging operations. Preforming operations may include edging, to increase the workpiece cross-section, blocking, to refine the shape for finish forging, and finish forging, to complete the shape. In finish forging, the bulk of the metal is forced into the impression, while a thin layer, called flash, flows out between the dies at the parting plane, surrounding the forging. Flash comprises a flat region called the land, and sometimes a bulbous region at the end of the land created by a gutter in the upper die. The thin flash cools rapidly, increasing pressure within the impression, which assists metal flow in the impression details. Once finish forging is complete, the flash is removed either manually or with trimming die. The primary type of hot extrusion is direct or forward extrusion. In direct extrusion, the hot billet is loaded into a thick wall container and forced through an extrusion die secured in a holder. The force for extruding is applied by a ram, along with an intermediate reusable dummy block. Metal flow from the die is in the same direction as the forward motion of the ram. Since the surface of the billet length slides along the wall of the container, extrusion force depends on the friction between the billet length and the container and the material. The friction portion of the force can be reduced by using lubrication. Force increases rapidly as the billet is upset to fill the container, then increases further as breakthrough force before extrusion begins. Upon breakthrough, the force declines as billet length decreases until a minimum force is reached. As the billet thins, the force rapidly rises again to continue metal flow radially toward the die opening. Resistance to deformation or force requirements increase markedly as the thickness of the butt or unused billet portion decreases. Hot extrusion is most commonly performed on horizontal hydraulic presses. Hot extrusion presses are usually rated in force capacity, which translates to the amount of pressure applied to the billet. That pressure depends on billet material and temper, its cross-section and complexity, length and temperature, extrusion speed and reduction or extrusion ratio. The extrusion ratio equals the cross-sectional area of the container liner divided by the cross-sectional area of the die openings.
Today we will discuss about wire drying process. Firstly, we will discuss about parts of the wire drying process. We have a die 1, die 2 and die 3. This die has larger inner space. This die has smaller and the third die has smaller as compared to first and second die. Space is very small in die 3. We have a puller which will pull the rod or pull the raw material. We have a coiling roller which will coil the wire made by this process. This is a raw material of which we can make wire which will pass through these dies, and the diameter or the thickness of the material will less in 3 dies, and in the last die the wire will make, and this wire will coil on the coiling roller. This is the final product. This wire is the final product, and this is the raw material. Now we will see the working of the wire making process. When raw material will travel through first die, then the diameter or thickness will be decreased, and the final product will be made this. And when this will travel in the second die, again the diameter or thickness of the raw material will decrease, and this, when last one third die, this material will travel from the third die, wire will make, and this will coil on the roller. Roller will rotate, puller will pull the wire from the raw material, and the coiling will take place on the coiler. From this process we can make wire of the desired size. These dies are used for the desired product and thickness of the wire. So this is a working of wire making process. Thank you.
Tubular hydroforming begins with the placement of straight tubes into the die, but is more commonly begun using preformed tubes. Preforming prepares the tube by shaping it generally into form for placement into the hydroforming die. Sealing punches within the die close the ends of the tube, while the necessary fluid pressurization of the tube begins for hydroforming. This fluid pressurization typically removes wrinkles or imperfections in the tube. There are 3 surfaces at the end of a tube that can be used as a sealing surface. These are the outside diameter, inside diameter, and end surface. During forming, a combination of increased internal pressure and a simultaneous axial pressing on the tube ends by the sealing punches causes the material to flow into the contours of the die and the forming zones. Tubular hydroforming is generally divided into 3 classifications or operating techniques: low pressure hydroforming, or LPH; high pressure hydroforming, or HPH; and pressure sequence hydroforming, or PSH.
Explosive to form a metal into the shape of a mold. The sheet is placed on top of the mold, and the air beneath the sheet is evacuated. This is done to prevent the air from stopping the metal sheet from being pressed into the mold once the explosive is triggered. Next, the tank is filled with water to maximize the effect of the shock and pressure wave. Finally, an explosive is placed above the metal. When the explosive is triggered, it creates a shock and pressure wave. When the pressure wave hits the metal sheet, it then forces it into the shape of the mold.
Let's conclude today's session. Summary on today's session is given in this slide. If you any doubt, write on Discourse forum. Thank you for your attention.